Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to all of you. And thank you for joining us here on a Sunday evening for what promises to be a truly exciting and inspiring session. It's always a delight to see so many familiar faces and mountain lovers gathering together, especially here in Bangalore. I hope you're able to hear me in the end as well, right? Okay, cool. Okay, especially here in Bangalore when the traffic is just, these are the terms we use: traffic, potholes, weather, all that, right? So making it on a Sunday evening where everyone wants to rest, it does make us feel very special. So thank you so much again. All right, it's we are here today for an inspiring mountain talk titled "The Accidental Climber" by the accomplished mountaineer Mr. Aloke Surin. Very warm welcome to you, Alok.
Thanks.
And to all our members, guests, and friends of the Himalayan Club. Before we begin, let me take a moment to introduce the organization that brings us all together, the Himalayan Club. Founded in 1928, the Himalayan Club is one of the earliest mountaineering clubs established in the subcontinent, dedicated to promoting adventure and mountaineering. The club's objectives go far beyond mountain climbing and encompasses a wide range of interests and activities related to the mountain world, such as publication, awards, lectures, social initiatives, sponsorship, and mountain film festivals. Some of the major activities of the Himalayan Club includes the Himalayan Journal, first published in 1928 and recognized worldwide as one of the most reliable references on the Himalaya, Karakoram, and Hindu Kush ranges. Awards such as Keku Naroji Book Award for Mountain Literature, the Jagdish Nanavati Award for Excellence in Mountaineering, and the Jagdish Nanavati Garud Gold Medal for the support staff, and the Sherpa Tiger Badge for the excellence by the Sherpas. Lectures including the Arun Samant Memorial Lecture and the Kaivan Mystery Lecture. Social initiatives such as the Rebuild Ladakh Initiative and the Himalayan Disaster Relief Fund. And of course, numerous expeditions to the Himalaya and Karakoram. This club will soon celebrate its centenary award with a series of exciting activities and events planned, and we warmly invite all of you to participate and be part of the historic events and the milestone. This mountain talk, The Accidental Climber by Aloke Surin, is brought to you by the Bangalore chapter of the Himalayan Club. With your continued support and encouragement, this marks the fourth major event in 2025 organized by the Bangalore chapter. We look forward to bringing you many more inspiring sessions in the months ahead. Here in Bangalore, our chapter has been especially vibrant and active. This year alone, we have organized 3 successful events, and tonight's talk marks the 4th event. Itself is an accomplishment by itself, right? The momentum reflects the passion, commitment, and teamwork of everyone involved in the Bangalore chapter. So let's take a moment, give a big round of applause to all the members and volunteers of the Himalayan Club Bangalore chapter for their enthusiasm and dedication. Thank you so much. With that, I will call upon Rohit and introduce our speaker, Mr. Aloke Surin.
Thank you so much. A very good evening, all of you. As rightly said, somewhat the traffic is quite less today, and I was able to reach within 45 minutes from Jaipur. Cool. Thankful to Himalayan Club for giving me this honor to introduce Alok. Many of my age, we have been looking at his blogs and the way he posts and shares his experience. We come from that background, and it goes way back 10, 12, 15 years maybe. So I'll not waste much of your time. Aloke Surin is an enthusiastic climber whose journey across the Himalaya began in 1970s. What started as a visit to the mountains gradually transformed to a lifelong passion for mountaineering, leading him to undertake several exploratory expeditions and achieve a few first ascents in the Indian Himalaya. His climbs have been on the lesser known peaks, undertaken with few close friends, preferring the spirit of small, self-reliant teams over the large, heavily supported expeditions typical of club-sponsored or military-style mountaineering. After relocating to Canada, Alok continues to lead an active life, though he fondly misses the mountains that gave him some of his most memorable adventures. This presentation focuses on some of his best trips between 1985 and 2000, a remarkable period filled with exploration, camaraderie, and the pure joy of climbing. Over to you, Alok. Uh, please do the
Well, sorry about that. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Rohit, and thank you everybody for being here, braving the crevasses and glaciers of Bangalore traffic, and successfully coming to this event. I hope to entertain you, amuse you, and hopefully inspire you with these accounts of some of my small trips in the Himalaya. Especially, like he said, between 1985 and 2001, I consider my golden years, where every year I was in the Himalaya, either trekking or trying to climb some peak or the other. Not all of them were successful, in the sense me and my friends did not reach the top of most of them. But if success is defined as adventure and coming back home safe and alive, then I think I've been successful in that sense. And these trips have also given me great memories. We formed tremendous friendships over the years. People I've climbed with are lifelong friends. The people we have met in the mountains, in the villages, some of the porters that we have used, some of the cooks who are with us at base camp. I still keep in touch with some of them when I go into the Himalaya, the villages, and we all remember that as a golden age. The time when these trips were done was a very different time from today. Some of the major changes that have taken place, I'd just like to recall. We did not have enough adequate equipment. Equipment was not available to most of us. When I started rock climbing in Bombay, we were using industrial ropes. There was no climbing rope available. If you were lucky, you had a friend from abroad who brought you one. Otherwise, there was a company called Todi. They were making these ropes which are not very elastic. So if you took a fall on those ropes, you'd probably hang yourself because there would be a sort of shock. We did not have rock climbing shoes. Most of us climbed with hunter boots, and then some of us even climbed with trekking boots. So we had none of the smearing, the delicate climbing that is done today. And of course, there were no climbing walls, no specific training for rock climbing as it is done today. And those of you who climb today, you know how high the standards are in rock. There's a 514, 516, A, B, C, D, and all. I can't even think of that. Then, as far as going to the mountains, we had very little information on tap. You really had to do a lot of research. You had to look at old journals, old expedition reports, to see if somebody's been in an area, what have they done, and try and kind of get in touch with them maybe and get a few leads. Also, there were no maps available to the ordinary civilian. Everything that you wanted to go to, they were restricted. So unless you had a friend in the army who could get you those Survey of India maps, the topo sheets, there was no Google Earth. There were no satellite phones, there were no cell phones. So once you went into the mountains, you were really out there. There was no helicopter rescue, there was no climbing insurance. So in that sense, we had to be very sure that the risks we took were within what we could control. And with that little introduction, let's get on with the show because you have a lot of stuff to see here. So I've called it the accidental climber for the simple reason that it was quite an accident that I took to climbing, and a lot of things in my life have happened accidentally. Even coming here today, I was supposed to be in Nepal right now on a trek with Kamlesh, who's here, and another gentleman called Sridhar. But the Gen Z revolution put a stop to that. And the other title I was thinking of is Confessions of a B-grade climber. You will see why. Or Postcards from Grandpa. Because if you're young, you probably think this guy's talking of stuff, which happened 40 years ago and plus. I have a question for, is there any volunteer? The question is, what made you interested in the mountains? Anyone? Come on.
BBC Planet Earth Mountains episode.
Okay.
I mean, way back in when it was released.
All right. Okay, that was you. In my, I grew up in Calcutta, so very far from the Himalaya, and I had no idea of what the Himalaya was. I was on a college trip way back in 1972, and went up to Darjeeling for about 4 days. 2 days it was raining heavily. It was the end of May, and there was nothing to be seen. On day 3, the sky cleared, the clouds parted, and I saw Kanchenjunga for the first time. And I really thought I had died and gone to heaven. It was so unreal. It was so unreal. So I went back to my college in Calcutta and went to the local library and started reading everything I could lay my hands on about mountaineering. I read this book called Annapurna by Maurice Herzog. So Annapurna is a very inspiring story about the first ascent of the very first 8,000 meter peak by a French team. And Maurice wrote it from a hospital bed in Kathmandu where all his frostbitten toes were being seen too. And it's one of the most inspiring mountain adventure stories I have ever read. And it showed me that there was a world beyond, my little town of Calcutta. And the other book which I read was Everest Southwest Face. Now this is the paperback edition that you see here. The one that I got from the British Council Library in Calcutta had these lavish photographs. And best of all, it had a glossary at the end, which explained all these very exotic, esoteric mountaineering terms like a kulwa or a kum, abseil, rappel. These are words that didn't make any sense. Carabiner. And I devoured all that. And then I asked my dad. I said, hey, when I was in Darjeeling, I went to see the HMI, the Himalayan Mountaineering Institute. At that time, Tenzing was still the field director, and the course cost 350 rupees. And I said, can I have that money to do this course? He said, no, what? You want to climb mountains and you want me to pay for it? I said, no, nothing doing. So that was that. Anyway, years later, after I got my first job, I spent my very first holiday doing this basic mountaineering course at the Nehru Institute in Uttarkashi, sorry. As you can see, we were very fashionably dressed. This is all equipment given to us by the institute. It was 450 rupees for 30 days, a real deal. It included training, food, the works. Most of my course mates were from the army, We were, I think, just 5 civilians in that particular course in October, November of 1978. And they took us up to Ruin Saratal, and there's something called Ski Valley 1 and 2 above that. You can go up that and cross over to Yamunotri via the Bali Pass. Some of you might even have done that trek. So that was a training ground. And this gentleman here, Wing Commander A.K. Bhattacharya, was the vice principal at that time. So while we were here, he came up to me and he said, "Oh, you seem to be feeling very cold." I said, "Yeah, it is cold, sir." And I was thinking that's kind of a weird question to ask. The rest of the course mates, since they were from the army, they thought the civilians who were in that course were quite insane to, pay for the suffering for a month. They said, "You guys actually pay for this?" Because for them, most of them were posted in very remote border stations. I remember one guy was in Nagaland, during the troubles there. So for them to do this course was a kind of paid holiday. It was much easier than what they were doing up in the borders. So they thought we were really crazy. And this is Captain Lal, who was on that course with me. The hardest part, I think, of that course was taking 2 boats up to base camp. We had to walk for 5 days from the roadhead. And each one of us had to take turns in taking the goat along. The goat would suddenly decide to run up a slope and then down a slope, and we also were carrying pretty heavy. I think they gave us about 30 kilos each in our backpacks. If you remember those days, they had air mattresses, which itself was quite a weight, and there was no such thing as lightweight equipment, so that made it really hard. So from 1978 to about 1985, I just did some high altitude trekking. I did not put my climbing training to use until I had a fall. And this was in 1985, climbing near Bombay. This is a route called the Tabletop. That's my friend Farooq there. And this is the first pitch, goes up to this little cave, and then you go out from here and up through there. So while I was on the second pitch, the other person who was, this is not during that incident, by the way, but so when I was on that pitch, the guy who was belaying me from the end of the climb, he was basically finished the climb, and another 2 people were chatting with him, and he was showing them, look at my belay station, it's really great, nuts in opposition. So he was tied into that, and just as he was talking, I fell, and I came down somewhere here. I was swinging from the rope, no helmet those days. I hit my head on the rock, and I kind of blacked out for about 30 seconds. So when I came to, I could hear voices screaming from the top, "Are you okay? Hey, Alok, are you there?" etc., etc. So one of the guys who came down to help me, he was Ravi Kamath. So he had just finished a route adjacent, and he was the one chatting to my friend Satish, who was belaying me. So he rappelled down, he helped me get onto a ledge, and then luckily the damage was not very severe, but severe enough to keep me at home for about a month. I became friends with this gentleman, Ravi. He was about 15 years older than me. I was around 30 at that time. So I used to just hang around a lot with him at his, he has a little business in Mumbai. At that time he would be making sleeping bags and rucksacks and harnesses. And we decided that, hey, let's do something this year. Sorry. So both of us were looking for a small Himalayan peak, not too technical, just to give us some Himalayan experience, and something that we could go to in the monsoon. So we were looking at Lahore, which is supposed to be in the rain shadow area. So it would be ideal in July, August. That's a time when Ravi would find it easy to leave his business and come out to the mountains. So the two of us boarded a train from Bombay. It was a very, very sparse expedition. We did not have a lot of stuff with us. We had, I think, just 2 ropes and 2 tents. Even the tent were not mountain grade tent. They were trekking tents which we had modified. And we chose this peak called Lion. You see this here. It's about 20,000 feet. And if you're familiar with this area, this is the Chandra River, which comes from Batal. From Batal, it goes on to the road. There is a road on the other side. It goes up to the Kunzumla. You can cross over to Spiti. And this way, from here, it goes on to the point where you can cross into Kulu Manali over the Rohtang Pass. Of course, now there is the Atal Tunnel, which has shortened that journey. So the approach for this peak would be from Batal. You'd have to walk on the other bank of the river and come up to the Bada Shigri Glacier here. And where this is the Lion Glacier feeds into the Bada Shigri, we have to be going up there. Papsura and Dharamshura are 2 very prominent peaks on this ridge. Papsura is the peak of evil, and Dharamshura is the peak of good. They have been climbed back in the 60s when it was the golden age of Kulu mountaineering. A lot of the first ascents were done in those days. So we checked up on this peak in the old Himalayan journals, in the Alpine Journal, and there were 2 ladies who had driven over from England in 1961, and they had put up a camp here, and then they climbed both Central Peak and Lion Peak from here. In our case, we came into this gap between these 2 peaks and took this ridge up here. So the main problem with this peak was the approach. It took us about 5 or 6 days to get to base camp from Batal. So we got off the bus here at Batal. I think there is still a tea shop there. And this is the road coming down from Kunzumla. This goes towards Manali side. This is the Karcha Nala. So you have to walk on the floodplains here back to the Karcha Nala. You've got to cross this before continuing on to where the Bada Shigri feeds into this whole system. We had a 3rd member with us. He was a friend of, he was actually the nephew of a friend of Ravi. Because Ravi had said, hey, my nephew has never been to the Himalaya, do you mind taking him along? So we said, yeah, okay. And so the 3 of us had got 2 porters from Manali, and we, since it was too late to cross the Karcha Nala that day, in the evening you have the flood waters, the water rises in these snow-fed streams. So we camped here for the night, and next day we crossed over this, I can't see the pointer, okay. So this is the Chandra River running downstream. Batal is somewhere out there. So we've come here, we're trying to cross over. It's a braided stream, so we got 2 or 3 channels. We just crossed this, and then we managed to cross over here. Now, this is a sort of an island, because beyond this was another branch we had to cross. So after we had transferred our luggage, and these are the 2 porters, that's Arvind the trekker. These 2 guys just refused to go any further. They said, "Nahi saab, this is too dangerous, etc., and they just dumped us there. So now we were camped in this on this island here, and wondering what to do. And during the night, Arvind, he had a massive headache. He was not acclimatizing well. Because in 5 days we had come from Bombay to, this is about 12,000 feet in Lahore. So he was vomiting, he had no appetite, and he felt absolutely sick. So we thought it's best to send him back. So early morning, we recrossed the river back to the other side, but we left our tents here, and we told him go back to Batal, catch a bus back to Manali, and go to Bombay as soon as possible. But he said, on the way, if you find anyone, just send them to help us out. So luckily for us, he found 2 porters at Batal who finally agreed, and so they came up, and with their help, we continued on to the mouth of the glacier, which is somewhere there. And I showed you that map earlier. Those are the big peaks ringing one side. That's Papsura, Dharamsura, and this is Lalana. I'm showing this peak here because some ladies who had climbed this from Bengal in the 1970s, during that expedition, while they were crossing the Karcha Nala, I believe it was on the return from the summit, 2 of them had drowned in that river. And there used to be a memorial there for them. So it just goes to show that a stream which is fordable early in the morning when it has been frozen all night from the snows which are feeding it, but by afternoon or even by late morning, you could be in real trouble because it's very swift, flowing and cold, and all you need is one misstep and it can just carry you down. It took us 2-3 days more to reach our base camp area. This is the northeast face of Dharamshura there. Some years ago, some Japanese guys had tried to climb this, but they had to be rescued from somewhere there. I don't know, I think it's still an unclimbed route from this side because normally this peak is climbed from the Toast Glacier, which is behind on the other side. So we managed to go up and put up a summit camp at around 19,000 feet. So that's a camp. And our route basically was up to the col from, this is Lion and this is the lower ridges of Central. And we climbed this ridge all the way to the top. As a climb, it was not long, it was not technical. It took us only about 5 hours from this camp to reach the summit. The summit was corniced on the left, so we kind of avoided that. And from the top, we have this really great view of the Bada Shigri system. You have Shigri Parvat, Ulupumori, some of these bigger peaks here. The regular route which we were going to attempt was go up this, get onto this ridge here, and this leads to a very big and flat plateau, and that is the summit there. So it's a longish way. Base camp is about 12,000 feet, and this, if you convert it to feet, it's about 21,000. So that's a long way. This is Menthosa East. Till date, this particular peak has not been climbed. Though in 2017 or 18, I'm not sure, there were 2 Americans who've done an 8-kilometer traverse. Right, they went up from this side, they traversed this, went up here, and somehow they managed to climb this, and they came down from here. So that climb, you can look it up. It was one of the nominees for the very prestigious Piole d'Or Award. That's an international mountaineering alpine award for alpinism, generally given for climbs which are at the cutting edge of technical difficulty and remoteness, and the style in which it was done. And the nice thing to know about these 2 guys who climbed it, one was a guy who used to live in India. His name is Rishad Nauraji, and he's been based out of Seattle for a long time. and he has taken his climbing skills to that level. So that's really good. Anyway, back to our little humble team. This is my friend Farooq, with whom I was going to climb. We were just two of us, and my wife and my sister would accompany us to base camp, spend a week, and go back from there. I always try to kind of combine my mountain holidays with a little family time as well. My wife is not a climber. She says, I hate snow and rock and ice, it's too bland, it's just black and white. But she loves all the approach marches, the villages that you have to walk through, the meadows and stuff. That's a nice part of having long approaches. And the Miar Valley, if you've been there, is really good for that. There are lots of very hard technical climbs now in the side valleys which feed into the Miar, and there have been, if you look up, there are great accounts of some good climbs there. Anyway, Farooq was, I used to rock climb with him in Bombay, one of the fittest guys I knew. And for those of you who think that you need a mountaineering certificate or a degree to be able to climb, no, this guy climbed Angduri without any training. He had no basic mountaineering training. He was just climbing. That's it. Climbing is the best training for climbing, whether it's on ice, rock, snow. It does help to have formal instruction, but the only way you can get better is to just keep doing it. That's my wife, and passing through one of the villages, we always like to kind of, pose for pictures with these kids. I find them the most charming. And once we reached, you remember Bir Singh, I mentioned him. Sorry. What happened there? Okay. That's Bir Singh. So when I met him in 1985, he was 16, but he was already sort of married to this girl, Saraswati, that's his wife. And these are all the village children. That's my sister at the back, that's his aunt, that's my old trekking friend. And the other porter who helped us get down from Lion Peak was this guy, Rinzing, again from Manali. So Menthosa, you have to climb up the Urgus Nala from the village of Urgus, and this is the kind of terrain you have to negotiate. That's Bir Singh being very chivalrous and helping my sister across one of these things. And that's one part where the path is a little dodgy. That's my wife trying to come down. Finally, this is base camp. It was a really nice setting, if you just took a walk from up these meadows. This was in August, September. So the meadows were, they were like a garden of Eden all over. We had borrowed this tent from someone. This was a trekking tent, and this was another trekking tent. And this is the tent we were going to use up on the mountain. So like I said earlier, we had a real shortage of equipment. You couldn't get hold of decent stuff. So you had to make do with whatever was available. So Bir Singh and Rinzing stayed at base camp for some time, as long as my wife and sister were there. After a week, everybody left. They shut down base camp, and Farooq and I told them come back about a week later, and hopefully we'd be there and evacuate base camp. So after that, we were totally on our own. And at that time, I don't know, it never occurred to us that, hey, if we get into trouble, there's absolutely no way out. Nobody will even know. But we were young and foolish, I guess. So we got on to the mountain, to the Col here. So that was quite a long haul from base camp. This is at about 16,000 feet. We pitched a tent there. And over the next 2 days, we went up this this slope here. Not here. We actually came across, and then there's a kind of gully you can't see because the light is very flat here. And then you go up here, and we pitched a camp right under the final slope leading to this massive plateau. So this is the Kulwa, and that's Farooq ahead. It was not technically very difficult, but steep, and the snow was quite hard. It was almost like ice. And while we were passing under this rack or ice tower, I did not realize that this could have been a very dicey place to be in. Much later, when I came back to Bombay and read up some old reports of this mountain, there was a British services team from Singapore a few years earlier. One of their members was hit by an avalanche which was set off by this tower collapsing. You know, that's tons and tons of ice falling on you. This is the size of a 5 or 6 story building. And if that hits you while you're in this gully, it can be a problem. Anyway, we got to a camp there, and we had only 2 nights of food and fuel, because there's only so much you can carry in addition to your tent and some climbing hardware, ropes, etc. And back in the day, we did not have access to gas canisters. In fact, for this trip, we managed to get just 2. So we said we're going to use it at this camp. And nutrition-wise, all we had was Maggi noodles, which is good, but it's not really a power meal. But be that as it may, it was a spectacular place to camp. On the other side, in this photo, if you're familiar with this area, this is the Pangi Valley in Himachal Pradesh. So if you were to cross that pass, which I showed you lower down where we first camped, if you cross over and you descend that slope, it eventually brings you out in the Pangi Valley. So this was a little ice slope that we had to negotiate. Again, not very steep, but some good climbing. And then we were on to that plateau. That was miles and miles of deep snow. What we did not realize was from where we were camped to the summit is hidden in the cloud there. It's a very long way. And given our fitness, our kind of logistics, we would not be able to reach that in a day. And come back safely. So even if this was already about 12, we had started at about 5 in the morning. By 12 we were around here. And this is the route all the way. This was at least about 500 meters away, and 300 meters of elevation gain, and really deep soft snow. So it probably had been another 5 to 6 hours to get to the summit, and then it's anybody's guess how much longer to descend. We would definitely have been benighted, so we decided that it's not something that it's within our capabilities. So to give you an idea of where we eventually made it to, you see that notch there? So that's about where we had reached. So now in perspective, when you look at it from the bottom, you can see there's a hell of a lot of distance still to cover. At this altitude, that's a long distance. So most teams which have climbed this peak from this side, they have had a camp on the plateau itself. So that reduces your time to the summit and back. So all that was left was to head back. And right on cue, Bir Singh and Rin Singh had arrived, and including his wife, because she came for this reason. She told us that she used to always wonder what what does Bir Singh do up there, because she had never been up with him to these base camps. And yeah, he was carrying her across the river. Very chivalrous husband.